What if I told you that one of Europe's most compelling cities isn't in Europe at all? Not really. It's a city so defined by contradiction that it had to construct an entirely new face, a shimmering glass mask, to conceal the deep scars of its past. This is a place where a statue of star-crossed lovers, a Muslim boy and a Christian girl, endlessly reaches for an embrace they can never truly hold, a perfect, aching metaphor for a region perpetually caught between empires, religions, and identities. This isn't just a vacation spot, it's a geopolitical chessboard playing out in real time on the shores of the Black Sea. Forget what you think you know. We're not here as tourists. We're here to understand a story of reinvention, resilience, and the relentless ghost of history. Let's uncover the layers of Batumi. Your first encounter with Batumi's coastline is a calculated assault on the senses. They call it the Las Vegas of the Black Sea, and from the grand seaside boulevard. It's a title that feels almost understated. A surreal forest of skyscrapers pierces the sky, each one a monument to audacity. There's a building shaped like a classical Roman colonnade twisted into a futuristic tower, another with a miniature Ferris wheel inexplicably embedded halfway up its facade, and a hotel that mimics the White House, only it's built completely upside down. It's an architectural fever dream, a deliberate and defiant statement against subtlety. At night, this vision ignites. The entire coastline becomes a blaze of choreographed neon, casting a kaleidoscopic glow across the dark waters of the sea. The air itself seems to hum with the promise of fortune, a symphony composed of distant club music, the laughter of tourists, and the almost subliminal, constant clatter of unseen roulette wheels and slot machines. This is the city's official postcard, the meticulously crafted image it sells to the world, a playground of boundless, hedonistic possibility. And at the very heart of this dazzling promenade stands its most profound symbol, the kinetic statue of Ali and Nino, two towering 8-meter-tall figures, one male, one female, are rendered in translucent stacked steel plates. They represent the protagonists of a famous 1907 novel. Ali, a Muslim Azerbaijani boy, and Nino, a Christian Georgian girl, whose love is tragically thwarted by war and cultural divides. Every 10 minutes, in a piece of mesmerizing engineering, they begin to move. They glide silently toward each other, their metallic bodies becoming porous. They don't collide, they pass through one another, merging for a fleeting, beautiful, and ultimately hollow moment of union. Then, just as silently, they continue on their separate paths, destined to part again and again in a perpetual, silent dance of longing and loss. It is a masterpiece of public art, but it's more than that. It's the soul of this entire region, a land of tragic unions and inevitable divisions, played out on an endless loop. This shimmering facade, however, is deceptively thin. It's a veneer, meticulously crafted over the last 15 years. To truly understand Batumi, you must do what most visitors don't. You have to turn your back on the glittering sea and walk inland. Because just a few blocks from the billion-dollar coastline, you step through a looking glass into another world, another time. The transition is shockingly abrupt. The wide, palm-lined boulevards, manicured to perfection, give way to narrower streets. The charmingly European cobblestones near the shore become cracked, uneven asphalt. And the buildings change dramatically. Suddenly, you are surrounded by the ghosts of the Soviet Union. Hulking, 9-story apartment blocks, the infamous Khrushchevkas, stand in grim, utilitarian formations. Their facades, once a uniform, depressing gray, are now a chaotic palimpsest of decay and desperate personalization. You see exposed brickwork, where plaster has fallen away, crumbling concrete balconies precariously holding air conditioning units, and a tangled, chaotic web of external laundry lines and bright yellow gas pipes snaking up the walls like metallic ivy. These are not ruins. They are not monuments to a bygone era. These are homes. Behind these decaying exteriors, life thrums with an intensity that is both resilient and poignant. From the central courtyards, or douars, the semi-public spaces that are the true heart of these communities, you can hear the symphony of domestic life, the distant sound of a television, the laughter of children playing, the aroma of garlic and herbs being cooked for dinner. People live, love, and raise families in buildings that look as if they have been forgotten by the very city they inhabit. Earthquakes are rare here, but these structures don't need a tremor to show their age. The stairwells are often dark and smell of damp concrete. The communal elevators are temperamental relics, and a sense of weary permanence hangs in the air. This is the other Batumi, the one that doesn't make it into the promotional videos. It is a city of two distinct halves, a glittering, hyper-modern future bolted precariously onto a crumbling, stoic past. And to understand how this profound dichotomy came to be, you have to rewind the clock. Not just by decades, but by centuries, to when this very piece of land was a pawn in the games of giants. Batumi's location is its destiny. It is both a blessing and a profound curse. Nestled on the southeastern coast of the Black Sea, just 20 kilometers from the Turkish border, it has always been a prize, a strategic jewel coveted by empires. Long before the arrival of Russians or Ottomans, this coastline was the heart of the ancient kingdom of Lazika. It was a client state of the Byzantine Empire, a crucial buffer zone against Persian expansion. It was home to the Laz people, a distinct Kartvelian ethnic group whose descendants still populate both sides of the modern border. This shared ancestry is not just a historical footnote. It's a living reality. If you travel to the Turkish coastal cities of Trabzon, Arhavi, or Rize, you will see the same faces you see in Batumi. The same broad foreheads, sharp, prominent noses, and strong jawlines. It's a striking, visible testament to a common heritage that predates modern nations and their artificial borders. For centuries, this land was under the thumb of the sprawling Ottoman Empire. This period infused the region with Islamic culture, architectural styles, and customs. Then, in the 19th century, the geopolitical winds shifted. The Russian Empire, in its relentless push southward, began to conquer the Caucasus. Batumi was one of the last Ottoman strongholds to fall, finally ceded to Russia after the Russo-Turkish War of 1877-78. The Russians immediately set about transforming the city from an oriental port into a fashionable imperial resort, building the grand boulevards and European-style squares that still form the backbone of the old town today. But the true, defining turning point for modern Batumi came in 1921. The Russian Empire had collapsed into revolution, and the new, fragile Soviet Union was fighting for its survival. On its southern flank, Mustafa Kemal Atatürk was forging the modern Republic of Turkey from the ashes of the Ottoman Empire. In this chaotic new world order, borders were fluid and up for negotiation. The Treaty of Kars was signed between Kemalist Turkey and the new Soviet republics of the Caucasus. It was a complex, intensely pragmatic agreement that redrew the map. In this grand geopolitical bargain, Batumi, which Turkey had briefly reoccupied, was officially handed to the Georgian Soviet Socialist Republic. But, and this is the crucial detail, it came with conditions. Batumi was to be granted the status of an autonomous republic within Georgia, a nod to its unique history and significant Muslim population. And, most importantly, its port was to remain a free port for Turkish trade. This single clause from a century-old treaty is the key that unlocks the puzzle of modern Batumi. It explains why Turkish culture still has such a powerful and visible foothold here. It explains why, to this day, Turkish ships can use the port without paying taxes, fostering a deep and symbiotic economic relationship. For 100 years, Batumi has been Georgian, but it has never fully escaped the powerful gravitational pull of its neighbors. It is a city defined not by one singular identity, but by the constant, shifting, sans tension between three great historical influences: the deep-rooted Georgian soul, the long shadow of Ottoman Turkey, and the heavy, bureaucratic hand of Soviet Russia. That complex, layered history is written on the faces of the people you meet today. The city's official population of around 200,000 is a fascinating, ever-changing mosaic. While the majority are ethnically Georgian and practice Orthodox Christianity, there is a large and well-established Turkish population. You don't need a map to find their influence. Just walk a few streets away from the main tourist drag, and you'll find yourself in neighborhoods where Turkish is the primary language on shop signs and spoken on the street. Bakeries here don't sell croissants. They serve warm, fluffy pied and simit. The air is fragrant with the smell of Turkish coffee and spices. Here, you can get a rich Turkish breakfast, complete with menemen, scrambled eggs with tomatoes and peppers, olives, cheese, and endless glasses of strong tea, for a fraction of the price of a European-style brunch. But in recent years, a new sound has joined this chorus, the distinct Slavic tones of Russian and Ukrainian. The influx began after 2014, but accelerated dramatically after 2022. Walk through any park or square, and you'll notice it immediately. Nearly every second person you see seems to be fair-haired and blue-eyed. Ukrainian flags hang from balconies and are displayed prominently in public squares, a silent but powerful statement of solidarity and a clear clue to the origin of many of these new arrivals. Batumi, with its relative affordability, safe environment, and visa-free access for many, has become an unexpected haven. What is most striking is the demographic of this new wave, its overwhelmingly young families. The city is filled with strollers. The playgrounds are packed with children whose first language is not Georgian. You can see free backgammon and chess lessons being given to children in the parks. It feels less like a city of transient tourists and more like a place where a new generation, displaced by conflict, is attempting to put down roots. This influx has subtly but noticeably shifted the city's cultural alignment. While geographically and historically tied to Turkey, the daily vibe in Batumi today feels closer to a cosmopolitan Slavic seaside resort. It's a place where you can sit in a park, hear Georgian, Turkish, Russian, and Ukrainian being spoken all around you, and eat food that tells the story of three different empires, all within a single city block. It is a living experiment in coexistence. So how does this city, with its visible signs of aging infrastructure and modest official salaries, afford the gleaming Porsches, Maseratis, and top-of-the-line Lexus sedans that cruise its boulevards? The answer is the powerful, high-octane engine that powers the entire glittering facade, the casinos. Gambling is strictly illegal in neighboring Turkey and heavily restricted in many other nearby countries, including Azerbaijan and Iran. Batumi has seized this geographic advantage with voracious ambition. The most opulent, vibrantly lit buildings that dominate the skyline are almost invariably hotel casinos. They are the city's primary source of income, a powerful magnet for tourists with cash to burn. They come from Turkey, the Middle East, Russia, and Israel, drawn by the promise of games of chance that are forbidden back home. This constant influx of foreign capital creates a strange and fascinating economic paradox. The official average salary in Georgia remains low by European standards, but the sheer volume of tourist and investment money that flows directly into Batumi's service and real estate sectors creates a localized bubble of high purchasing power. This unique economy is reflected in the cost of living. You can get a hearty, delicious breakfast in a local Turkish neighborhood for just 44. A full, multi-course meal with drinks at a nice, mid-range restaurant will rarely set you back more than 25 per person. In a supermarket, a pack of 10 eggs is about 1, and a liter of milk is to 1.50. It's an incredibly affordable place to visit or live, yet it supports a highly visible lifestyle of extreme luxury. The casinos fuel the non-stop construction boom. They put the luxury cars on the road, and they fund the very existence of the city's glamorous, high-rolling alter ego. It is a high-stakes gamble for the entire region's economy, and for now, it seems to be paying off spectacularly. But a city is far more than its economy or its architecture. If you look past the flashing lights of the casinos and the crumbling concrete of the past, you find the true, resilient soul of Batumi. You find it in the simple, profound pleasures that are woven deeply into the fabric of daily life. First, there is the wine. Georgia is widely considered to be the cradle of viticulture, the oldest wine-producing region in the world, with an unbroken tradition stretching back 8,000 years. This is not just history to Georgians, it is a matter of immense national pride. They were making wine in large, earthenware vessels called couvevri buried underground, a method now recognized by UNESCO. Thousands of years before it reached Western Europe, along Batumi's picturesque streets, it's common to see locals and visitors alike enjoying a glass of deep, inky red saperavi or a crisp, amber-colored rakatsateli. And the wines are exceptional, and they are astonishingly cheap. Then, there is the food, which is a language in itself. While kinkali dumplings and classic Imarishan khachapuri are national staples, Batumi is the undisputed home of the king, the Ajaruli khachapuri. This dish is a spectacle. A boat-shaped bread, its cavernous center molten with a blend of local Salguni and Imiruli cheeses, is pulled from a fiery brick oven. It's immediately topped with a glistening pat of butter and a raw egg yolk, representing the sun over the Black Sea. The ritual is to take your fork and vigorously stir the egg and butter into the cheese, creating a gloriously rich, decadent, lava-like fondue. You then tear off pieces of the thick, chewy crust and use them to scoop up the divine mixture. It's not just a meal, it's an edible metaphor for the region, an interactive experience of pure, unadulterated comfort. And you find the city's soul in its public spaces. Unlike its sprawling, chaotic capital, Tbilisi, which struggles with a large population of stray dogs, Batumi is immaculate. Here, the dogs you see are leashed, and the parks are meticulously clean. The municipality has invested heavily in the quality of life for its residents. There are free-to-use ping, pong, and billiard tables set up in parks near the beach. There are extensive public workout stations with professional-grade equipment all along the coast. And perhaps most telling of all, there are public water fountains at nearly every corner, providing clean, cold, free drinking water for everyone. It's a small detail, but it speaks volumes about a city that, despite its frantic race towards a hyper-modern future, has not forgotten the fundamental, communal needs of its people. Experiencing Batumi like a local, rather than a tourist, means learning to navigate its unique quirks. The taxi system is a perfect, unfiltered example. There are no meters. Not a single one. Getting into a cab without firmly negotiating and agreeing on a price beforehand is a rookie mistake. A surefire invitation to be drastically overcharged at your destination. The taxis themselves are a chaotic rainbow of colors: red, green, white, purple, making them hard to distinguish from private cars, save for a small, often weathered sign on the roof. It seems that practically anyone can put a sign on their private vehicle and become a taxi driver. It's a symptom of a city where explosive development has far outpaced regulation. For longer journeys, the smart choice is the train. The modern, Swiss-made Stadler trains offer a comfortable, reliable, and scenic connection to Tbilisi, a world away from the old, reckless minibuses or marshrutkas of the past. The city, however, is brilliantly designed for exploration on foot or by bike. Street signs are consistently bilingual, with English translations neatly printed directly beneath the elegant, flowing Georgian script. Dedicated bicycle lanes, clearly marked in red paint, run along both the main roads and the entire length of the coastal boulevard, often with clear warnings to prevent pedestrians from straying into them. For payments, life is refreshingly simple. Credit cards are widely accepted in most hotels, restaurants, and supermarkets. But cash is still king in the smaller bakeries, local markets, and especially with the taxi drivers. Exchange offices are on almost every corner, offering fair, competitive rates. There is, however, one glaring omission for a city that bills itself as a premier seaside destination: a sandy beach. Batumi's entire coastline is made of smooth, gray stones and pebbles, ranging in size from small gravel to large, fist-sized rocks. While beautiful to look at and responsible for the water's clarity, it's undeniably challenging to walk on. Locals navigate it with practiced ease, but tourists often find it uncomfortable. And a word of caution: while the Black Sea looks inviting, particularly in the peak heat of July and August, water quality near a major, active port city can be inconsistent. But perhaps the lack of a perfect, sandy beach is a blessing in disguise. It forces you to look beyond the typical seaside holiday tropes, to lift your gaze from the shoreline and engage with the rich, complex, and fascinating city that lies just beyond the stones. Batumi is not a simple city to understand or to summarize. It is a living, breathing paradox. It is a proudly Georgian city with a Turkish heart and a Russian mind. It is a luxury resort built upon a foundation of Soviet concrete. It is a city looking determinedly towards a glittering European future, while simultaneously grappling with the powerful ghosts of its imperial past. The shimmering skyline on the Black Sea isn't a lie, but it's not the whole truth. The whole truth is found in the contrast, in the silent, perpetual dance of Ali and Nino, in the rich, volcanic taste of Ajaruli Khachapuri, and in the quiet, stoic resilience of the people who call this extraordinary, complicated crossroads home. It serves as a vivid reminder that the most rewarding journeys are always the ones that ask more questions than they answer, leaving you with a profound sense of wonder. What part of Batumi's complex story surprised you the most? I'd love to read your thoughts or any questions you might have in the comments below. If this story opened up a new perspective for you, please consider sharing it with a fellow traveler who loves to look deeper than the surface of a destination. Subscribe for more deep dives into the world's most fascinating and misunderstood places. And if you're curious about another nation with a complex and contested past, check out our video on a country that literally had to fight for its own name.